Welcome to Southampton Law School. My name is Asif Hamid and I'm the undergraduate admissions tutor. Just to explain the plan, I'll be talking briefly about the law degrees at Southampton. But in addition, I'll be handing over very quickly to an academic colleague who has lined up a fantastic taster lecture for you. It's about 7 minutes long and will give you a really great insight into what it would be like for you to study law with us. So Southampton University is ranked within the top 100 universities in the world. In addition, we are a member of the Russell Group in the UK. The Russell Group comprises 24 leading UK universities that are dedicated to academic research. And that's what we do at the law school. Academics here are engaged in cutting-edge research that is looking to push back the frontiers of human knowledge. That's great for you as a student at the law school. You will be exposed to cutting-edge thinking in the areas that you're studying. Studying law at Southampton is an exciting challenge. You'll be developing your ability to think independently and critically. A law degree is absolutely not about rote learning, about memorizing mass amounts of information. That is not what we're interested in at all. Of course, as a law student, you will need to be familiar with the legal landscape. But what we're interested in is getting you to think about what's going on, to try to understand how the law is actually working, understand the reasons why the law is the way it is, and then think about some problems. Is the law working well? Might there be some issues with how the law is operating? And if so, what might the solutions be? What might the options be, and which should we prefer? So these are some of the things that you'll be thinking about as a law student at Southampton. But rather than me simply trying to explain this to you, it'd be better for you to just see what this is like. So without further ado, I'll hand you over now to the taster lecture.
Hello there. My name is David Gurnan. I am a professor of criminal law here at Southampton Law School. Now, I take an interdisciplinary approach to the study of law, which means I take insights from the humanities and from social sciences in the study of legal questions. And I bring this to my teaching and also to my research. Now, a currently topical issue in my particular area of teaching research is whether we can use our existing criminal laws to respond to the spread of COVID-19. And there are really two aspects to this. I mean, on the one hand, we have the new statutory offences and police powers brought in by the aptly named Coronavirus Act 2020. On the other hand, there's the question about what we do with individuals who seem to go out of their way to spread the virus, and whether there's a role for criminal law here in terms of punishing people for specific acts that seem to us to be dangerous to other people. Now, we do already have criminal laws that could be applied in these sorts of situations. You may recall the sad case recently of a railway worker who had been spat in the face by a person claiming to have coronavirus, and that railway worker sadly died soon after that incident. Now, it's tempting in a case like that to assume that criminal activity has taken place. But the more difficult question is to identify exactly what that criminal activity is, given that we don't have a specific offence relating to this. What we do have is an offence going all the way back to 1861, which is maliciously inflicting grievous bodily harm on another person. This is Section 20 of the Offences Against the Person Act 1861. And this makes it punishable for up to 5 years to inflict GBH, grievous bodily harm, in a variety of ways. Now, currently, the offence, the Section 20 offence, can be used in cases, for example, of HIV transmission. So if a person has sexual intercourse with another without disclosing that they are HIV positive, and that other person, the sexual partner, then becomes infected by them, then this is a case of maliciously inflicting grievous bodily harm. COVID-19 is arguably or potentially even more deadly than HIV, in the sense that it is a new infection against which we have no natural immunity. And currently it seems we don't really even have very effective treatments for people who are infected with COVID-19. So it would seem natural to suggest that we could simply extend our existing criminal laws relating to grievous bodily harm, potentially also manslaughter, to include COVID-19. But this does pose certain difficulties that as lawyers we need to think about fairly carefully. Now, criminal prosecution is generally understood to make sense in those situations where a person has done some particular thing which has caused some particular harm for which we can hold that person responsible and punish them. So, for example, in the case of HIV transmission, there are certain limited routes to becoming infected. So we know, or in most cases we can know, who we put on trial for inflicting that particular kind of grievous bodily harm. Can we say the same for instances of COVID-19 transmission? Now, really, there are two kinds of problems that arise here. The first of these is causation. Is it actually possible to prove that one person was infected by another, given what we know about how COVID-19 is transmitted? HIV is transmitted in very limited numbers of ways, as I've said, but COVID-19 is a virus which is transmitted in a variety of ways. The potential sources of infection are typically much more numerous than for HIV. So an infected person spitting in the face of another who then contracts the virus would certainly represent a likely potential cause, but that wouldn't necessarily be enough for a criminal conviction, which would need to know that it wasn't some other cause that might be to blame. So that's the first problem, causation. The second is whether a prosecutor would be able to prove that the defendant had the necessary guilty mind. So the offence that I've been referring to, maliciously inflicting grievous bodily harm, the prosecution would have to prove that the defendant recklessly inflicted that harm, which means that they consciously took an unjustifiable risk, that what they were doing could lead to bodily harm. For HIV and other STI cases, it's now generally assumed that failing to inform a sexual partner that one is HIV positive or infected with an STI, a serious STI, does constitute taking an unjustifiable risk. But COVID-19 is not quite like this. If we were to include COVID-19 amongst the list of species of grievous bodily harm, should we be limiting it only to those instances in which a person really does go out of their way to infect another person, such as spitting in the face? Or could we criminalise activity that is much more routine? Going into a public place, for example, a crowded public place when one knows one is infected with COVID-19. Would this be taking an unjustifiable risk for the purposes of the offence of maliciously inflicting grievous bodily harm? Now, these are questions to be worked out in the courts. One thing to keep in mind is that we do not necessarily need to have any new legislation in order to say that COVID-19 is in fact grievous bodily harm. And hence, if a person dies from the infection, that this could be a case of manslaughter. It is within the court's power to say that the existing laws, the 1861 laws, can be interpreted to include a new virus like that. Whether they'll do that or not, we don't know. We will have to see. And I will leave you with that thought. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye.
Thank you very much, David, for that taster lecture. Hopefully that gives you a bit of a flavour of what it would be like to study law here at Southampton, the sorts of legal questions and issues that are coming up, and questions that we will be putting to you as students to think about. Now, I just want to outline the law degrees that we offer at Southampton. There are a number of 3-year programmes that we provide. The main programme is the the normal 3-year law degree. In addition, we have, for instance, a 3-year law with psychology program where you will spend 2/3 of your time studying law and 1/3 of your time studying psychology, essentially exploring the human mind. We also have some 4-year programs. We have 2 study abroad programs, the European Legal Studies degree and also the International Legal Studies degree. And more information is available, of course, on the website. The idea with both of those programs is that you would spend the first 2 years of your law degree in Southampton. Then you would spend your 3rd year abroad at one of our partner institutions overseas. And then finally return to complete your final year of your law degree back in Southampton. In addition, we have an opportunity that we call the Year in Employment, and that's an opportunity that's available to all Southampton undergraduates, including those in the law school. So the idea here would be that you would complete the first 2 years of your law study in the law school, then you would spend your 3rd year in employment, gaining valuable work experience to help set you up for your future career, and then you would return for your 4th year, your final year, to complete your law studies at the law school. I'll talk a little bit more about the year in employment shortly. So here's a representation of what the 3-year law degree looks like. And of course, feel free to pause the video to take a closer look. The idea is that you study a number of core modules over the course of year 1 and year 2. In addition, you have optional modules beginning in year 1 and then increasing in year 2 and then into year 3 as well. In year 3, you have a free choice from a large list of optional modules. In addition, in year 3, you will be doing a dissertation, a 10,000 word independent research project. And that's a fantastic opportunity to really get your teeth into a legal question that is of interest to you. It's entirely up to you what you want to work on in your dissertation. And as I mentioned, if you decide to spend your 3rd year abroad or in employment, then you would return in your 4th year to complete that final year. This shows some of the optional modules that you can do over the course of your degree, including in year 2 and year 3. The full list of optional modules is considerable, so please do have a look at the website. It's a long list and there's some really interesting modules on there. For instance, healthcare law, international law, which is an area I'm interested in. In year 3, topics such as intellectual property law, globalization and law, law in the human body, and of course global health, which is of particular concern at the moment. Turning now to a very important topic, careers. I just want to talk a little bit about some of the ways in which the law school will prepare you for the big wide world, the world of work. I mentioned earlier the opportunity that we call the year in employment at Southampton. So the idea here is that you would spend 2 years studying law, your 3rd year gaining work experience over the course of that year, and then returning for your final year, your 4th year, to complete your legal studies. I just want to give you some examples of law students who have taken advantage of this opportunity and some of the things that they've done. So for instance, we have had law students gaining work experience over the course of that year at Renault, the car company, at Southampton Football Club, Southampton City Council. We also have a really exciting opportunity with Reed Smith, a global law firm, which is offering 5-year-long placements to Southampton law students. In addition, at the law school, we organise an annual law fair, which is attended by over 50 law firms and other legal organisations. And when it comes to career destinations, our graduates pursue exciting careers in the legal profession, whether at the bar, They may practice as solicitors at leading law firms. They may join the government legal profession. And of course, because the law degree at Southampton is a rigorous degree and for that reason valued by employers, we have graduates going into other professions as well, such as government, media, and industry. Lastly, we have a range of opportunities available for you at Southampton Law School to help you build your CV and prepare yourself for a successful career. There's a wide range. Please do have a look at the website for further information about some of these. There is one in particular that I just want to focus on for now, and that is the marshalling scheme. This is a scheme that's open to law students in the second year of their law degree. And the idea is that they essentially go and shadow a practicing judge, a working judge in London. There are a number of judges in London who are Southampton graduates and with whom the law school maintains close links. And this is a fantastic opportunity for second year law students to spend some time with a judge, sitting in on cases, listening to those cases, discussing what's going on with the judge in question. You'd be hard pressed to find another opportunity like this that's available to undergraduates at other UK law schools. So that's about it from me. If you have any questions, please do get in touch. We'd be delighted to hear from you. You can write to us at our email address, and of course we are present on various social media platforms as well. Thank you very much for joining us, and take care.